Hey, what's going on, guys? Back again with another video. Sorry, I'm feeling a little sick right now, so if you hear me sniffling and all that, forgive me. Okay, so we're going through the series. We've talked about how to pick a body camera, camera body, and the different camera levels, all right? And then we kind of spoke about the different sensor sizes. Yes, size does matter. Giggity. So go back. Shouts out to Flossie Carter. Go back and look at those videos. It's really going to give you the basics. Going to be going to digitaltrends.com. I really like this article. Very simple. No jargon on here. Well, maybe some jargon, but it's very easy to read, easy to digest. I think this is a good start. Go through this, read it, and I think it's going to give you a lot of information. Next, I have this website also, DP Review, Digital Photography Review. Great website. This is more of an advanced website for really serious camera enthusiasts, if you will. Once you get a hang of the basics, you want more information, more details with your camera reviews, details about photography. I recommend going on here. You're going to have way more information than you want. They're going to break everything down. Really great website, and they have their lens buying guide. They'll go through the different aspects of the lenses, and I'm actually going to use this when going over things, but definitely go over the digital trends. Start with that, get some of the basic understanding. You go on here into more details. So when you're buying your lens, depending on the company you go with, they have different lens mount system, if you will. This is crucial because you can't use the lens from Sony's camera with a Nikon camera. I think there is some converters and things you can use to attach, but that's another attachment that you have to use that lens. But on its own, you can't use that lens with another company's camera. So when you're looking at your lens, you're online buying it. How do you know what's a good lens? Well, the lens that you're going to buy, it's going to be determined by what you're shooting. Are you going to be outdoors? Are you going to be indoors a lot? Is this more of your general lens? Is this your first lens and you're just trying to learn how to shoot? And you're going to be shooting everything, both indoors, outdoors, anything you get your hands on pretty much? Or are you specializing now and you're looking for something specific? Are you going to be shooting landscape? Are you going to be shooting birds, portraits of people? What are you going to be doing? Decide what you're going to be shooting first, and then that's going to determine what camera lens you're going to get. Now, not only is your camera body going to determine the quality of your image, as we've gone over, your lens is also going to determine exactly how that image comes out. Now, cameras work the way your eye does. You have your retina on the back, which is your sensor, and then you have your lens, which refracts and reflects the light and pretty much focuses it on your retina, and you get an image. Now, if your retina is all screwed up and not of good quality, guess what? Your image comes out looking weird. It's not good. If your lens, there's stuff on it, your lens, the integrity of it is not good, guess what? Your image is going to come out bad. So they work hand in hand. You can't have a really good camera body and then put a crappy lens on it and expect a good image. So when you're working with a lens, if you're shooting indoor or outdoor, it's going to vary greatly. You have different aspects that you're going to look for. Focal length. Now, the focal length is how much zoom there is, if you will, if that's an easy way to put it. Now, you have a wider angle lens, and I love this picture right here because it kind of talks about the different angle focal lengths. So you have a 16 millimeter right here, and then you see how it increases. Now, if your camera says it has, or your lens says 18 millimeter lens, that's a wide angle lens. And this image just kind of shows you how that image is going to look like. If you take your camera, you put that lens and put it on your camera body, and you point it, this is what it's going to look like. Now you move into a 50 millimeter lens, which is pretty common. This is what it's going to look like. You're pretty zoomed in right here. A lot more zoomed in than your wide angle lens. And then you go up higher, and this is your telephoto range. You can see that person on there waving, whatever it is. So that's the first thing you're looking at. Now, if you think you're going to be taking images like this, very wide, vast landscape, you want a wide angle lens. A wide angle lens is going to enable you to capture all this detail. If you go with something in the 50s, like a 50 millimeter prime lens, and I'll explain that more, you're going to be stuck with this. The only way to capture this image, you have to step back and be able to get that amount of image in the shot. And same thing with this width. If you have your lens this wide, that means you have to walk closer towards your subject to be able to get more focused detail and kind of crop out all of this information there. Pluses and negatives. So if you're doing landscape, wide angle is good. Indoors, it's good because you can get a lot more people in a shot, because obviously you're limited with how much space there is for you to walk back. And if you're too zoomed in, you're not going to be able to get a wide angle shot and capture everyone. Let's say you're going to be taking pictures of things in the far distance, so you'd want to go with a zoom lens, something that has a higher focal length. All right. So the next thing you're going to look at, aperture. This is crucial right here, and this is why most cameras are going to cost you more than some other ones. So I have a prime 50 millimeter prime lens from Nikon. With that, you get a 1.8 aperture. Your aperture goes usually, you can go as low as below 0, but for the sake of this discussion, let's say 2.8, and they can go up as high as in your 20s, I believe, 16s or so. So you have this aperture range. What does that have to do with anything? Now with like I said, your camera functions like your eyes. When you go in a dark area, your pupils have to dilate. They open up so they can let more light in. Same thing happens when you're taking a picture. If you want to take a picture in the dark area, the aperture has to open up. And the smaller that aperture number is, going down towards 0, the wider your pupil is, if you will, the wider that lens is. And if you go up higher in the numbers, up to 16, you're closing it and letting less light in. So it's crucial when you're buying a lens, if you know you're going to be shooting a lot of indoor shots, parties, if you will, whatever it is, nighttime photography, you want a camera that's capable of opening wide enough to allow a lot of light in. You can always compensate with your flash, but your flash can only take you so far. So that's why you're going to see these cameras with a lower f number, which is what the aperture is. It's the f number, f2.8. You see it written on there. That's why you're going to pay more for those cameras, all right? Image stabilization. So if you have a camera that has image stabilization, that means that when you take the picture, it's going to look crisp and finely outlined like this versus this, because if you take that picture, you press the shutter button, it's going to register the shake from your camera, and that comes out with a blurry image. You don't want that. So this is the different nomenclature. Depending on what camera system you decide to go with, these are the terms you're looking for the image stabilization. Now you can always compensate for a shaky image by increasing your shutter speed, but we'll talk more on how to actually take a picture later, kind of explain that. But image stabilization is nice. Some camera bodies do have it, so look for that in your specifications when you're going to buy a camera and a lens as well. Another aspect with this, the format and then the lens mount. mount, not a mouth. So, like I said, different lens will work with different camera bodies, specifically by the company. So, with the format, it determines if you're working with a full frame camera body or a cropped frame camera body. Why it's called a crop frame, this article here actually explains why it's called a crop frame. Let me see if it says it on there. Anyways, one of those articles, not sure. The point is, with a cropped sensor, when you're buying the lens that's built for that sensor type, the actual focal length is going to reflect to what that focal length is for that sensor. A 50 millimeter lens is not the same, not going to produce the same image as in here. Let's say this is a 50 millimeter. It's not going to display or produce the same image as that lens on a full frame. A full frame is actually going to give you a bigger, wider image, whereas with the APS-C sized camera body will give you more of a cropped, that's why they call it cropped image. So it looks closer, you're zoomed in. And this is also going to vary with the nomenclature for point and shoots and some of the other fixed lens camera systems. These articles do a great job of going into detail and kind of explaining what those mean, and you get lots of information on that. So yeah, so those are some of the things to look into. Portraits, if you're taking a lot of portraits, having a wide aperture is nice. Having a wide aperture is nice in general because that means you can open up the lens, the aperture, while decreasing the shutter speed. So you can capture really, if you're doing sports photography, that's really nice. If you're doing low light, like I said, indoors, portraits, what else? And then your zoom is nice if you're, zooming into something far, if that's what it's going to be. A lot of your cameras come with kit lenses, and those have a wide range of zoom capabilities, like 18 to 30, 50 or something like that, 55 to 200. So with those, the only downside to those is they have it's kind of the curse of the jack of all trades and master of none. So they're good, versatile cameras, lenses, but the downfall of that is that they don't offer the same level of quality typically that you would see with a prime lens. A prime lens means that it just has one focal range, so 50 millimeters, 18 millimeter, 80 millimeter, and 19 millimeter camera lens. So that's going to be the focal length. Like every time you take that camera out and you're going to take a picture, this is how zoomed in it's going to be, one of these blocks right here. So it's always going to be there. Whereas if you had one, let's say range of 18 to 70, you have this entire range. You don't want to walk up closer, you just dial in and you can get that range. So that's the benefit of that. But the prime lens, you get usually better image quality because they're made for that focal range. And also you have lower apertures or wider apertures, if you will, lower f numbers. So that means you can get, they call them fast lenses. So you can get, faster shutter speeds and all that. So go ahead, look on online and try and find the lens that best suits you. If you need to, just make a comment or contact me, and I can kind of tell me your situation and the lens you're looking for, and I can give you my 2 cents on whether or not that's a good lens to buy. But all right, good luck shopping. Have a good day.